Russian President Vladimir Putin has triumphantly declared victory in the nation's presidential election, a win that is set to extend his tenure in power until 2030. After a largely symbolic electoral campaign, which critics argue offered no genuine contestation due to a harsh suppression of dissent, Putin's dominance in Russian politics continues unabated. Early counts by the Russian Central Election Commission indicated a staggering 87% of the vote in Putin's favor, with the majority of precincts reporting. The election concluded on Sunday with no viable alternatives, positioning Putin for a near quarter-century reign. This electoral outcome was anticipated given the absence of significant opposition, reflecting Putin's firm control over Russia's political landscape. The election occurred against the backdrop of the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, raising international concerns and regional tensions. Putin ominously addressed the presence of Western troops in Ukraine, suggesting it could push the world to the brink of World War III, while asserting that such an eventuality was in no one's interest. Putin appeared unfazed by election-related protests, claiming they had no effect, and went on to issue a warning that any crimes tied to the protests would face punishment. The Russian leader also touched upon the fate of his most notable critic, the late Alexei Navalny, revealing a prior agreement to a prisoner swap had been on the table, with the condition of Navalny not returning to Russia. Navalny's untimely death last month in an Arctic prison has left a void in Russia's opposition movement. The stifling of dissent has been a hallmark of the lead-up to the election, with critics either behind bars or forced into exile. Public criticism of Putin or his policies, particularly regarding the ongoing war in Ukraine, was largely silenced. The significant limitation of independent election monitoring further compromised the integrity of the electoral process. In a notable act of protest, Alexei Navalny's widow, Yulia Navalnaya, waited in line for over 5 hours at the Russian embassy in Berlin to cast her vote, using the occasion to honor her husband's memory. Her actions, along with those of other dissenters, demonstrated a small but defiant challenge to Putin's authority. International reaction to the election has been critical, with British Foreign Secretary David Cameron decrying the voting process, citing the illegal extension of the elections into Ukrainian territory, lack of voter choice, and absence of independent monitoring by organizations like the OSCE. Despite the outward appearance of a sweeping victory, the arrests of 80 people across 20 Russian cities, as reported by the OVD Info Group, mark the underlying tensions that persist beneath Putin's tight grip on power. With these latest developments, the international community continues to scrutinize Russia's internal affairs and broader geopolitical actions with heightened concern.